Hello, College of Professional Studies community. Welcome to the first episode of season 2 of Mentorship Matters, which is a conversation that we're having about a few different topics. First, about what the College of Professional Studies is and some of the key leaders within the college related to bachelor's completion. And then the second conversation that we're having is really about the role and importance of mentorship across a variety of fields, and particularly how that aligns to both personal growth and also career alignment, et cetera. And so we'll jump into this. My name is Chris Cook. I'm the Senior Director of the Lowell Institute School, along with being an academic director here in the College of Professional Studies. Excited to be joined today by two of my colleagues, so I'll have them introduce themselves in just a second. What I want to do, though, is ask them to introduce themselves, what they do here, and describe a little bit about their background, about how they got here. So it'll be a couple-minute introduction, and then I'll come in and introduce myself a little bit, and then we'll jump right into some of the questions that we have to talk about the topics outlined at the top of the show. So Dr. Ted Miller, or Edward Miller, that is written down there. If you could jump on in and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Edward H. Miller. I'm currently the academic director for the Social Sciences Division at the College of Professional Studies. And I also serve as the faculty lead for Interdisciplinary Studies. I came to Northeastern University in 2011. At the same time, I was pursuing a graduate degree at Boston College, a PhD at Boston College in history. And I was working as an adjunct professor for about 4 years, and then came on full time as an assistant professor. And then here we are 14 years later, and happy to be part of this team. It's a wonderful experience being at Northeastern, and I learn something new every day.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Rego, and I am the academic lead for digital communications and media. I've been a teaching professor with Northeastern for 2 years, and prior to that, I was teaching at another university. Also have a background in marketing as well as advertising. So I spent the first half of my career in industry before starting to teach, and not unlike Ted, my first experience teaching was as an adjunct, and it was at Northeastern. I won't tell you how many years ago, but I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed being with the students. And I look forward to doing more projects at Northeastern, but I have been working in experiential education, bringing advertising clients into the classroom for the entirety of my teaching.
Lovely. And really excited to have you both join as guests for episode 1 this year. We are excited to use this format to talk about our programs, talk about the role of mentoring, talk about experiential learning and all the things that make up the Northeastern brand, but also just to connect directly with our students and other community stakeholders that want to learn more about Northeastern and want to feel more deeply connected to Northeastern. I think everybody on the call feels like it's a pretty special place, particularly at the College of Professional Studies in our bachelor completion programming. So just to give a quick introduction of myself, my name is, again, Chris Cook, and I served as a K-12 educator for the first half of my career, and 3 years ago came over to the College of Professional Studies, taking some of the experiences I had as a high school principal and thinking about making academic programming and community intertwined and about broadening the scale and the scope of our work at the College of Professional Studies. And I'm really excited because now within the Lowell Institute School, I think we are extremely well positioned to support our current learners and our future learners in a really unique way. And in this really challenging time in higher ed, I think it's important that institutions are thinking about the best ways to support students and truly believe that we are uniquely positioned to support students of the future. So that's my introduction. Grateful to be here with both Michelle and Ted. We'll use first names from here, and I'll do my best to facilitate the conversation. Michelle, if you could talk to us a little bit about the field, maybe even your program, and what excites you most about the field, and then subsequently being a leader of teaching and learning within the field.
Thank you very much. So our program has really evolved into a digital space. Digital communication and media is still at its core about telling stories and communicating messages, but it's done across all of the platforms that we use in our life. Think about your day. You use phones and laptops. Even when you're streaming, all of that information is captured as data. So it's a STEM program, and data analytics is captured on not just consumers, but constituents. It could be even voters. And whenever you're using your device, it's important for students to understand that's the growth area of our industry. And those skill sets are really important with jobs. Now, there's another elephant in the room, and that is AI. Generative AI is being used for content. AI is being used in algorithms to make recommendations and to really understand patterns of behavior by consumers. Now, we talk about entry-level jobs and how they're changing, but it's also an opportunity. When I was coming through this field and those first jobs, there's a lot of basic writing or note taking at a meeting, drafting emails. That's what the entry-level jobs were. But now AI tools can help you with that. So the jobs that our graduates are getting are that next step where you're using your creative skills and working on strategy. So in our program, we prepare you for that next level of thinking. And we also embed the AI tools so you're ready to hit the ground running when you're looking for a job.
I appreciate what it feels like is a deep awareness of what the field has been, and then a recognition that AI is changing the field, but almost that is increasing your hunger for supporting folks with the sophisticated skill set they're going to need to move forward. I'm wondering if I could nudge you a bit to talk about, or honestly, I'm interested in this question, not necessarily knowing your point of view on it. AI drives everything. Folks are going to be out of the job. From my estimation, though, that's inaccurate because AI can't predict contexts in which companies are making choices to work with other companies. And that is where real world business takes place, about the intersections of business to grow your own business. So curious if you could just talk about how AI doesn't actually cause fear for you in your field, but actually is a space that you're just chewing on as you're thinking about working with your learners a little bit more.
And it should go beyond my opinion. So what I have been doing is visiting ad agencies and asking them that question. Last year, we visited 2 agencies with panels of working professionals, including alumni from Northeastern, talking about that very question. And our students were very interested in talking to HR as well. What are the typical jobs like? So that we understand from working professionals not only how they're using AI, but what are the skills regarding AI tools that they expect their incoming employees to have. So we've done that really at 2 levels. I've been keeping in touch with industry and talking to alumni and working professionals, and also talking to our community colleges and understanding the tools they're using so that students that may be transferring into our program have a clear understanding of where the industry is headed.
I love the experiential connection of saying, let's go ask the professionals, let's get out there and make that a part of our programming. Beautiful. Ted, your leadership in a program has a little bit different of a flavor, maybe less technical and maybe more broader, even though I would say Michelle leads a program that has a broad set of contexts as well. But Ted, wondering if you could talk a little bit about interdisciplinary studies, what excites you about the space, and challenges for learners coming into the program generally.
The advantage of interdisciplinary studies is it lets you stack what you already know with what you need in the future. And that's what employers are looking for. Many of our students are coming from community colleges, and we honor that work. What we do in this age of AI, as President Ayoun has issued the clarion call for us to heed, we add writing that's clear, we add data that's useful. We also add ethics that guide your choices in this brave new world. We are experiential. We have you do projects that look like real jobs, so you get practical experience. So ultimately, you leave with a portfolio that shows how you think and how you build.
Ted, one of the really nice things about your program is lots of folks can arrive to it and be successful in it. And I wonder if you could speak for a second to the breadth of the types of students that come to the program and why that is a really exciting element of what you do on a daily basis.
Oh, it excites me every day. I'm passionate about it. I receive emails from former Northeastern University students who want to finish up. I receive emails from current community college students who want to pursue their education after their associate's degree at CPS. We receive folks across the gamut. And with interdisciplinary studies, we can offer those opportunities because of the range. We mix tech, we mix writing, data. Students learn to ask the most important questions. They learn to work across teams, and employers are looking for that. And that's the key. We provide the skills that employers need today for the jobs tomorrow.
Ted, thank you so much. Michelle, thank you for your initial thoughts on the program and what excites you about learning in today's wild world for so many reasons. The inescapable conversation in conjunction with the challenges in higher ed is that people are wondering about whether or not a college degree is worthwhile at this point. I have a very strong opinion about why pursuing a bachelor's degree remains one of the most important choices an individual can make. A lot of that to me is tied up into the networking that occurs in your resulting education. And at Northeastern, we have a really unique way of building networking. But networking, in my estimation, is really about mentorship and figuring out where and how you find mentors. And that takes place in a lot of different contexts. So I want to ask each of you to talk about mentoring and think about a couple different questions as you're going with this. How has mentorship helped you in your own career path? Maybe where did it begin? Who was your first mentor? How did that help you put you on a path? And I think just knowing a little bit about you, each might have your own personal stories there. What makes for a positive professional mentorship? And then how do you see mentoring playing a key role for your students as they hit the professional world? And so let's start at the beginning, which is, who was an important first mentor of yours? And what did that look like? And what did that result in for you? And Michelle, we'll start off with you.
Sure. Mentors can take many different forms, as you mentioned. They can be informal, they can be in a corporate setting, and I have to credit my dad as my first mentor. He was an engineer and he was in the Army as well. But although communication was my field, he was quite a communicator as a drill sergeant. He taught me that it's important not just to communicate to people that are under your charge what you need them to do, but why you want them to do it. And that purpose, that motivation is important in communication and in persuasion. And he was a persuasive guy. And I'm sure that relationship was about not only learning from him, but then trying to live up to his expectations. So sometimes the mentor is a very close person where you have that feeling of wanting to live up and to show gratitude for the time and effort that they've given you. I've also been very fortunate to have mentors early on in my marketing career. And quick story, one that comes to mind, I was working as a product manager at a corporate marketing, and we were going on what we called a roadshow. We were launching some new products, and we went from Boston to New York to Chicago and Dallas, repeating the presentations over and over again. So my boss recognized that I needed to tighten things up a little. So I worked with this gentleman, Dan, who had been there for a long time, and he loved my excitement. I was in my 20s, but he recognized that I couldn't wrap it up. And he said to me once, Michelle, when you've finished what you have to say, stop talking. And that has stuck with me. You need a solid close. You need to end a presentation strongly. So a good mentor also gives you little nuggets of wisdom that help you along the way. And even today, I think of those words of wisdom. I think about what my father told me about purpose, and a really good mentor just stays with you in your memory. I also think of my mentors when I'm mentoring students. So it's not just something that happens in a moment in time. If the relationship worked out, then it's something that helps you as you face challenges throughout your career.
Yeah, Michelle, I love the different touches of way you're bringing in ways mentoring looks different, and also just the specificity of your stories is really impressive. one of my favorite interview questions. As a high school principal for a long time, and then I served as an executive HR officer for a large educational organization. And one of my favorite questions to ask prospective teachers, paraprofessionals, leaders, now even in the context of what we do, is what is the single best piece of feedback you have received? And just listen to what people have to say, because often they go back to specific stories like what you brought forward. And I hadn't really thought about that's a mentorship question. Who has mentored you and how do you approach mentorship? Because anybody that's taking mentorship seriously with that question should be able to go back. What has a mentor said to me that's held me accountable or pushed
Right.
me further? And that connected some dots for me personally. So thank you. Ted, flipping it to you. Tell me a little bit about an important mentor and then maybe how it connects into your field as well.
But it has to be my father as well. My father was also in the Army. His father died very young, and he had a difficult time adjusting to that. His father died at 42. So Dad and the family were in dire straits. So Dad had to be the breadwinner, went to Newman Prep, and then he went to Wentworth. Then he got his degree from Northeastern in 67. His co-op happened to be working on the guidance system for the Apollo landing. Now, my father was a grinder. He was the guy who could do the extra work to get the job done. His superiors, his employers noticed that. They saw that he was of that ilk, that he was willing to put the extra time in. And I didn't realize until he passed how much of a mentor he was to me. He never tried to fix me. He didn't have declarative sentences. He would just ask better questions about how to do it. And he would let me discover my own path. Another mentor that was critical was George Yorsi. He was an English teacher at Weymouth High School, where I graduated in 1990. George said, you need to continue your writing, continue your work on writing at the next level. And it had a tremendous impact on me because I published 2 books with the University of Chicago Press. It changed my life.
Amazing. And I think this connects me back, and I want to ask you some questions about what advice you'd give to folks who are in your programs thinking about how to find mentors, where might they exist. I think of the mentee as being part of this, having a set of tasks really to establish strong mentorship relationships. I want to hear from you around what feedback would you give to potential mentees in your programs as they think about getting mentors and engaging in that way. One thing I want to highlight, though, across what both of you said is you didn't necessarily articulate that there was this very prescribed way of engaging with you, yet there were very different types of relationships. Ted, you're highlighting that there were questions being asked of you, right? It wasn't, hey, here's the thing we're working on, but somebody was guiding you with the way that they engage with you. And both of you, in talking about your fathers, hearing about a little bit on the Army background, and maybe there were some regimented engagements as a result of that possible. So maybe a different type of mentorship relationship. Michelle, you highlighting the very specific actionable feedback that you received from one of your first mentors in the marketing space or the communications space. And so it very clearly takes on a lot of different forms. I can think of very specific lines from mentors, and I can think of mentors that I would go on walks with as a young professional, and we would just talk about the world, right? So it can look really different. What's really striking to me, though, that is a great place to find mentors are in educational contexts. Ted, you've talked about it in your high school. I think we all operate in a bachelor's completion space and think about it there. It's also mentorship in your first career. But I do think that in your formative spaces, it's either career or educational spaces that your first mentors really can nudge you in. With that, let's turn to providing direct advice to students in your program or students who might be considering coming to college and want to think about the role of mentorship. So what advice do you give to students who may feel hesitant about mentorship and about how to jump into it or ask for it specifically? Like, how do you find a mentor?
Sure. I'll give you some general advice, and I'll give you some advice specific to my program. In our digital communication and media program, we have direct opportunities where I'm going to turn to you and say, would you like to volunteer for this mentor program? So right now we have one that is peer-to-peer. where master's students are being paired with undergraduates to help them with their career, and really to have someone that's going through a similar time of life, but that has already been through a co-op or that has already been on interviews. And then in a general sense, raise your hand when you have an opportunity to volunteer for something or to just get to know your professor a little better because of a project, because of an initiative. It takes a little extra bravery sometimes to walk into office hours or to ask for or show up at a Zoom or a live synchronous meeting with your professor. But the more we get to know you, the more we can help you with those career goals. The other important aspect of getting involved with projects, standing out, doing a little extra, when it comes time to seek a recommendation from your professor, we should have a good story to tell. Talk about your part of the project or the way you really stepped up and went beyond. Those are important when we're helping getting to know you and giving you career advice, but also as we recommend you to others, having some real content that makes you stand apart from other applicants.
I would just iterate that it is critical after that class is over, come up to the professor, talk to them, engage them. It can be small talk. It doesn't have to be a task. It can be, that was an interesting point that you made about X, or it doesn't have to be, it's better when it's more of a natural development. A student can find mentors on their own. Our students are quite capable of noticing who is a mentor, right? Who giving you the things that are not written down in a handbook, right? How to read a room. That's a critical thing, right? How a mentor is not going to teach you how to do this. This is something that you can develop on your own because maybe the mentor can read the room. How to share credit, how to realize that you're not in this all by yourself. You're part of a team, and that's what businesses want. And I think that's a critical thing. A mentor can be somebody who is that you identify as having a specific skill. I worked in politics and government before I came to CPS, before I went into education. And I saw people who had talents that I wanted to have. I'd work with a speaker or a chairman or a legislator or a congressman. I was at Beacon Hill and Capitol Hill, and I would say, this person knows how to do this. I want to learn how to do that. And they might not notice me as a mentor, but I would consider them a mentor. One of my most important mentors is still in politics at Beacon Hill. He's able to make connections so well. Following those people who are making the right calls and being able to notice that is a real skill.
Yeah, I love it. And the breadth of what the word mentor means is coming through pretty clearly here. And the encouragement for students to take an active role in seeking mentorship. And sometimes that first step might feel inauthentic, right? I'm showing up to say, hey, there's this person who I think has something to offer me from a guidance perspective. And it might mean staying after class or writing a professor with what might feel like a self-serving ask, hey, can you give me some thoughts on this? Or, hey, I really thought that your class was great. Or, hey, can you give me some advice? But again, why an educational context is so important for the development of mentorship is that's why your faculty and your part-time and full-time faculty are there. Yes, to teach the content, but also to have real meaningful impact. And sometimes you have to ask for that real meaningful feedback directly. And I'm wondering,
you have to advocate for yourself, be in charge of your own career. And you know what you want probably better than we do, but sometimes a mentor can help you understand how to channel that And speaking about digital communications and media, there are so many different aspects of the field. Do you want to be on the analytics side, creative content, writing, strategy, research? Being able to learn more about the different career paths is important. And if we get to know your skills, just come out and ask. And there are mentorship opportunities. Hopefully, once you do it, you'll have your eyes open and looking for it for the rest of your career. I have a mentor here at Northeastern. When I first started, I was assigned a mentor, and fantastic opportunity. So you'll have both roles throughout your career, and it really helps you to be a lifetime learner.
And again, there's formal mentors, there's the informal mentors, right? There's all these ways. One activity I would do at the end of every academic year would write down literally the 10 most important people of my academic year. I did that as a student, and then now do that on a yearly basis as a professional. I do it on July 1st, on or about July 1st, because that, to me, I've just lived the academic calendar my whole life. So that's the time period. I look at July 1 as the new year. But I would ask everybody to kind of ask themselves, who are the 5 people who are most influencing me right now? That might be a formal mentor. That might be an informal mentor. Maybe that's somebody in your family. But I think keeping pulse on that at any given time, having at least a few people that fill that space is really important.
There's also an aspect of the anti-mentor, right? The person that you don't want to be. You can learn a lot from seeing an experience that you know would not work in a workforce, and that you don't embrace, that you don't condone, and then you can apply that learning in your own field and say, don't do that. And I've had mentors who in the past have said, did you see what just happened there? Don't do that. That was very helpful. But sometimes after a while, you're going to be able to identify who's doing the right thing and not. And I think that's an important part, that you can learn a lot from people who are not possibly the best mentors.
I love how we are saying there's all different shapes and sizes of mentors. And there's also just the learning we get by watching people operate in spaces that we want to be. And just the act of watching is a mentoring experience also. Cool. All right. Why don't we wrap it up? And I'm going to give you each a little bit of time to, and Ted, we'll start with you. Just close out. What's a piece of feedback you might give to one of your students related to either mentorship or just a nudge to keep it going in this endeavor that they've signed up for, which is to pursue their bachelor's degree, or a future student who might be thinking about it? So just take a minute or two to close out kind of your thoughts on the conversation we've had today.
Sure. You're important to us. Each of the students that come to Northeastern University are extremely important to us. We get up every day and we think about how we can connect to you. You matter here if you're a student. And we're working to make that connection stronger. And one of the things that you can do is be in touch. You can contact us at any time. I frequently put my phone number up on my emails. We do this not for the money, we do this for the love of the job. This is a calling, and we really do care. My favorite time of the year is graduation, when I see my former students come down, they get their degree, and they're off. And that to me is a win. And then I love to follow them on LinkedIn. I watch them on LinkedIn getting the next big promotion. And so there's a lot of goodwill here. And there's a lot of people that want to connect. And there's really no guidebook to this. This is a process of discovery on your own as well as with your professor. If you continue to press forward, if you have that grit and determination, you'll succeed.
And Ted, I'd also like to second that. Of all the aspects of my job, when you see the fruits of your labor, when you see that smiling graduate, when you get the email that says, I got the job, that's what really fills us with joy. And we are here for that reason. So you're doing us a favor by giving us an opportunity to make a difference, make a personal difference in the lives of other human beings. I also love the part of graduation when they ask for who's here in support, and no one gets here alone, as we said earlier. And I also want to give you the piece of advice to know your values and what you believe in so that you can also connect at that level and identify the mentor that's a good fit for you. And I think of in my undergraduate years in marketing, cause marketing and social issues attached to branding. So think about the aspects of your career that, as Ted said, you like and maybe you don't like, and identify someone that has similar viewpoints and values. And I think that would also be the foundation for a long-lasting relationship. Beyond graduation, you stay in touch on LinkedIn, you share your accomplishments. And what I always ask my mentees, come back and be my guest speaker in the classroom to talk about your success.
Stick with the winners. Find out who are the winners. Find out the people who are doing the amazing stuff. Follow what they do, and don't stop. Keep your passion. Keep your drive. Never be discouraged by setbacks. I think when one door closes, another one opens. It's the most important lesson that I've learned in life. And it's okay to make mistakes. We're human. And it's how we recover from those mistakes that makes the difference.
Love it. Michelle and Ted, this was a lot of fun. And I'm sure we're going to now have conversations as our day-to-day work goes on. So I appreciate the off-the-camera conversations we'll have in this space too, and how to continue to put some action to this as a college to bring forth community and connection, and particularly around the concept of mentorship. As we wrap up here, just again, a huge extension of gratitude to Michelle and Ted for being the first on this season's episode of Mentorship Matters. I want to encourage anybody here to reach out if they want to collaborate in any particular way, or if you're a future student, of course, reach out. And then beyond that, we are doing increasing amount of work to communicate out to the world what we do at CPS, what we do within the Lowell Institute School at CPS, and some other things that we are really passionate about. But bottom line, thanks for joining, and we will see you out there. All right, everybody, stay connected.